This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. Today's discussion grows out of watching layoffs at Macy's, Wayfair, City Capital, the movement of workers at Ford off their electric vehicle line, and a lot more. The topic today is great CEOs aren't constantly doing layoffs. So one of the concepts that we see, and this is fascinating, I sort of say today, Wayfair announced another 10% cut in their workforce, and this will apply to about 1,700 jobs, which are real jobs for real people. There's an old joke that a recession is when somebody else loses a job. A depression is when you lose a job. For these 1,700 people, this is a depression. Don't get me wrong. That's a real horrendous thing. The stock price jumps on the move. They're cutting 1,700 jobs. It shows the CEOs getting serious about job cutting and profits, and thus the price of the stock goes up 10% or so today. And it reminds me of the old days. There was a famous person back in the old days called Chainsaw Al. And Al Dunlap was a sort of acquirer that would go in and cut jobs. And he was sort of vilified in the media, and rightfully so. And in some ways, some of these CEOs who have this business model of hiring quickly without discipline and then laying off people as though this isn't a real part of people's lives, in some ways, I don't know I want to use the phrase that they disgust me, but they sort of do. I think there's great discipline in CEOs being relatively cautious on the way up in hiring so that they don't have to do massive layoffs whenever things turn in the wrong direction, that they don't make themselves so fragile that they've got to then do massive layoffs. I look at companies like Amazon. Yes, Amazon periodically announces layoffs. When you look at Amazon, they're laying off such a small portion of their entire ecosystem that they're almost not relevant except for those people that are being laid off. But I think this discipline of hiring rationally, not just throwing bodies at things, because when you just throw bodies at things and hire aggressively, sooner or later you end up cutting aggressively when things don't work out. So I think there's great discipline in these CEOs that hire carefully and don't do these massive layoffs. To me, I remember in one setting, a boss would announce layoffs and the board would say, "Oh, that's terrific. This person has the guts to do layoffs." The real guts to do layoffs is when you lay yourself off, not when you're so strong that you're laying off a lot of people and trying to prove how tough you are by laying off a lot of other people. So what I look at it is the discipline. The great CEOs are constantly having to do layoffs because they're more cautious about their hiring and smarter about their plans. Those are the CEOs that I admire. In any event, thank you for listening to the Becker Private Equity and Business Podcast. Again, text me anytime with a comment or a suggestion for an idea or article or podcast, 773-766-5322. That's our thought for the day. Thank you very much for listening.